Welcome to January 26 Daily Current Affairs. Today our first topic of discussion is about AMRIT program or the affordable medicine and reliable implants. Now recently why this was in the news was due to the fact that in order to make these low-cost medicines more accessible, the Union Health Ministry is trying to increase the number of AMRIT pharmacies by 4 times by the end of 2018. So the Union Health Ministry will be working to increase the number of AMRIT pharmacy stores by 4 times by the end of 2018. So what is the AMRIT program all about? The AMRIT program, it was launched by the Union Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in 2015. Now the aim of this scheme is to reduce the expenditure incurred by patients on the treatment of cardiovascular diseases as well as cancer. So this particular scheme, it is focused on the treatment of heart diseases and cancer. And the overall objective of this scheme is to make healthcare much more affordable to the poor sections of the society. And this particular program, this will be making these medicines around 50 to 60% cheaper. So who are the intended beneficiaries of this program? These are patients who are suffering from cancer and cardiovascular or heart diseases. The program will be implemented by a government-owned firm called HLL Lifecare Limited. Now this HLL Lifecare Limited, it will be establishing various retail outlets which will be known by the name AMRIT pharmacies across the country. And these AMRIT pharmacies, as of now, they have around 202 cancer drugs, 186 cardiovascular drugs, and also in addition to these drugs, these particular AMRIT pharmacies, they also provide cardiac implants. So again, remember that implants is also mentioned in the name of the program itself. So affordable medicine and reliable implants for treatment. That is what AMRIT scheme is all about. Now here the medicines and implants will be sold according to authentic prescriptions from doctors. Now our second topic is a very important topic. This has been frequently appearing in the news in the last few months. And that topic is the International Energy Forum or the IEF. Now recently why this International Energy Forum or IEF was in the news was due to the fact that the 16th IEF ministerial meet will be hosted by India. India is the current chair of IEF, so India will be hosting the next ministerial meeting or the 16th ministerial meeting of IEF in India. This will be held at New Delhi on April 2018. And in addition to India, the co-hosts of this particular ministerial conference will be China and South Korea. And the last time India hosted an IEF ministerial conference was in 1996. Now with respect to IEF, what you need to remember is one very important statement. See this particular statement, you must remember the statement about IEF. If UPSC asks you a question about IEF, there is a huge probability that it might be a statement type question and they are going to include this particular statement. Now let us have a look at that particular statement. IEF, it not only includes consuming and producing countries of the IEA and OPEC. So mainly when it comes to energy consumers, we have a group of countries called IEA or the International Energy Agency. This is particularly a formal group under the OECD and it only has OECD countries as its members. Then we have another group, a group of oil producing countries called OPEC. Now the peculiarity of this IEF or the International Energy Forum is that in addition to these IEA consumer members and OPEC oil and energy producing members, in addition to that, IEF also has other major players outside the membership of these two organizations. So IEF includes transit states and major players outside of these two organizations. So countries like India, Russia, China, etc., who are not a member of either IEA or OPEC are also members in the IEF. Now rest of the facts about this International Energy Forum or IEF, we will try to learn it through a question. So have a look at this particular question. It's a 3-statement type of question. Our first statement is the International Energy Forum aims to foster greater mutual understanding and awareness of common energy interests among its members. So foster greater mutual understanding about common energy interest. Obviously, if an organization is called International Energy Forum, it should have that sort of an agenda. So that our first statement is true. Now the second statement, the IEF Secretariat is based in Paris, France. Now this is wrong. Now think about it. The International Energy Forum is mainly focused on energy based cooperative mechanism between various countries. Now when it comes to energy and oil and natural gas and these sort of things, which is the first country that comes to our mind? It is probably Saudi Arabia, right? And take a guess, where will be the IEF headquarters will be located? The IEF headquarters is located at Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. And again, this is one thing we need to remember. There is only very few international organizations which have their headquarters located in Riyadh. One of them is IEF, or the International Energy Forum. Then we have two other major organizations also which are headquartered at Riyadh. One is the Islamic Military Alliance to Fight Terrorism, which is a Saudi Arabia-led initiative in order to fight radical Islamic jihadist movements across the world. But many political analysts say that it's an anti-Iran bloc led by the so-called Sunni bloc. Then another famous institution which is based on or headquartered on Riyadh in Saudi Arabia is the GCC, or the Gulf Cooperation Council. Now recently again GCC has been frequently in news also due to many issues between GCC members like Qatar and Saudi Arabia and UAE. And UAE and Saudi Arabia are trying to sideline GCC now, and they are trying to create their own grouping. So remember that the IEF headquarters is located on Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. Our third statement, IEF membership comprises not only of, so there is an only in that statement, only of consuming and producing countries of the International Energy Agency and Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC. That is obviously wrong. That is one major speciality of IEF. It has other major countries also like India, China, Russia, etc. So here our right answer is option A, one only. Now another thing that we need to remember about IEF is about IEF biennial ministerial meetings. See, these International Energy Forum's ministerial meetings, they are held biennially, means they are only held once in every 2 years. And that is why they are important. And it is the world's largest gathering of energy ministers. And the next IEF ministerial meeting, it will be conducted at India in New Delhi on April 2018, as India is the current chair of the International Energy Forum. So there is a huge possibility that we could get a prelims question on IEF. Now in the past months, there was another reason why IEF was in news. Recently there was a meeting called the 7th Asian Ministerial Energy Roundtable, or the AMR7, which was again conducted under the aegis of this International Energy Forum. And this AMR7, it was conducted during November 2017 at Bangkok in Thailand. Now our third topic is about DACA, or the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. Now this DACA, this is an Obama era immigration measure. Now what this DACA did was that it protected people who entered US as children illegally from deportation. That is what this DACA does. But then we had a Trump presidency, and as we all know, Trump has often taken this kind of stance against immigration. So President Trump have tried to cancel this DACA program. But recently what happened was that a court order in the US had blocked this government's decision to end the DACA program. So US have continued accepting DACA applications. So this Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival program, or the DACA program, basically this provides a 2-year period of amnesty to these children who entered the US as illegally. And this 2-year amnesty, it can be further extended with the work permit as well as social security number. So applications of these who have entered US illegally as children will be vetted for any national security threat or anything like that, and they will be provided a 2-year amnesty based on this Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. And the DACA, it protects the dreamers. So who are the dreamers? So you can see a huge poster by the dreamers protecting against the decision by the Trump government in order to abandon this DACA program. The DACA program protects dreamers. Dreamers are basically people who have entered US as children illegally. Now they are said to be US citizens in spirit. And by this DACA, around 800,000 of these dreamers have been given approval. And most of this dreamer population, they mainly come from countries like Mexico and other parts of Central and South America. So mainly these dreamers come from the Latin American region. See, Latin America is simply a region in this North and South America with the Spanish culture, Spanish speaking people and all. On an average, the dreamers, when they entered US, their age was around 6.5 years. And again, recently it has been found out that among these dreamers, there are also 1% Indian origin people. 1% of the beneficiaries of this DACA program have been Indian origin people. And many believe that since these dreamers grew up in the US, since they went to US schools and everything, in spirit they are the US citizens and they should not be deported into some country like Mexico or some other Central American country which they never went to. So there has been this kind of a controversy regarding these dreamers and the DACA program and all. And this is a burning political issue in the United States. No need to go much further into the DACA program, into the details and all. Just have an idea what is the DACA program. Our next topic is about Delhi Declaration of the ASEAN-India Commemorative Summit. So first we have a declaration called the Delhi Declaration. See, UPSC has often asked us questions like, they will be giving us a declaration, then they will ask us, this declaration is associated with which organization? For example, in the previous year UPSC prelims, UPSC had asked us a question like, Fertilizer Declaration is associated with which international organization? So recently there was the Delhi Declaration of the ASEAN-India Commemorative Summit. And why is there an ASEAN-India Commemorative Summit? See, the reason is that 2017 marked the 25th anniversary of India-ASEAN dialogue relations. See, India and ASEAN, they became sectoral dialogue partners in 1992. So 2017 marks the 25th anniversary of the diplomatic relations or the dialogue relations between India and ASEAN. In order to commemorate this 25 years of ties between India and ASEAN, the Ministry of External Affairs have conducted this commemorative summit on New Delhi recently. And after this summit, the Delhi Declaration was adopted. Also, in our Republic Day celebrations of 2018, chief guests were the leaders from the 10 ASEAN countries. Now let us have a look at what are the areas of focus in that Delhi Declaration. The Delhi Declaration mainly focused on enhancing maritime and economic cooperation between India and ASEAN. And India-ASEAN maritime cooperation has a huge potential. And recently, after that 2016 to 2020 plan of action on the India-ASEAN cooperation and all, India and ASEAN have mainly focused on taking their relations to the next level, focusing more on political and security cooperation and things like that. And also the Delhi Declaration has urged the governments in all of these countries for the swift conclusion of RCEP negotiations. So this is one thing that can radically boost the bilateral trade between India and the ASEAN countries. And another focus was on putting a joint front against cross-border terrorism and extremism and things like that. So recently again in Philippines there was the Battle of Marawi. Islamic State affiliated militants had tried to take over this Marawi region in Philippines, and India has provided enormous financial assistance. Financial assistance around like $500,000 to Philippines, and India was one of the biggest contributors to Philippines in helping it dealing with this kind of a radical terrorism. So there is this kind of a new security and political cooperation between India and ASEAN, especially in the counter-terrorism arena. And the Delhi Declaration, it has made a special focus on enhancing connectivity. So even though we have a lot of connectivity projects between India and ASEAN, like the Kaladan Multimodal Transport Corridor is there, the India-Myanmar-Thailand Trilateral Highway is there, and now we are even trying to expand that Trilateral Highway to other ASEAN countries also. But there has been a lot of implementation issues with respect to these connectivity issues between India and ASEAN, and due to that, often the India-ASEAN trade has been low when compared to China-ASEAN trade. For example, India-ASEAN trade is around $76 billion, but China-ASEAN trade is around $300 billion. So this has led to China getting much more political influence over the ASEAN countries and threatening the ASEAN countries and all. And due to these factors, ASEAN is actively trying to balance their relations with India in order to deal with this kind of hegemonic position by China, as ASEAN mostly due to cultural and historic relations with India due to Buddhism, ASEAN mainly sees India as a benevolent force when compared to China. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi recently, when he made a speech on India-ASEAN relations, what he said was that even though officially India-ASEAN relations only have reached 25th anniversary of dialogue partnership, we had relations for thousands of years due to Buddhism and other cultural factors. So there is this underlying theme of cultural and historical relations between India and ASEAN, and that is the reason why in 1991 we launched the Look East policy. And the theme of this year commemorative summit was Shared Values, Common Destiny. So together, India and ASEAN have a lot to offer to humanity. Let us have a brief look at the trade relations between India and ASEAN in order to understand the importance of India-ASEAN relations. See, presently, ASEAN is India's 4th largest trading partner. India is ASEAN's 7th largest trading partner. And India-ASEAN annual trade is huge. It comes to around $76 billion. And around 12.5% of the investment flows into India has been coming from the ASEAN countries. And it is widely believed that the future of the global economy will be mainly decided by India and ASEAN, as they are growing faster than the rest of the world. And again, these two blocks of countries, they have favorable demographic profile and they have a huge growing middle class population. China once had a great leader called Deng Xiaoping, and when he met the Indian Prime Minister at that time, Rajiv Gandhi, in around 1986, he said was that India and China should have a much more improved cooperation between them in order to realize the dream of the Asian century. So there is this dream of Asian century. The dream of Asia being one of the most powerful and formidable powers of the world. And that kind of a dream, it can only be achieved by having this kind of an economic and political cooperation between the major players in Asia like India, the ASEAN countries, China, etc. The last topic of today is about Padma Awards. Padma Awards is one of the highest civilian awards of the country, and they have been given to people from various disciplines and fields of activities, like it ranges from like arts to sports. So Padma Awards have been given to people from various disciplines and fields, and mainly we have 3 categories of Padma Awards, which include Padma Vibhushan, Padma Bhushan and Padma Shri. The Padma Vibhushan, the highest category in the case of Padma Awards, are mainly given to exceptional and distinguished service. Then we have Padma Bhushan, which is given for distinguished service of high order for the nation. Then we have Padma Shri for distinguished service in any field. This year around 85 recipients have been selected, and the list comprises of like 3 Padma Vibhushan, 9 Padma Bhushan and all. 14 of the awardees are women, and 16 persons from the category of foreigners, NRI, PA or persons of Indian origin and overseas citizens of India have been selected, and 3 posthumous awardees also have been there with respect to Padma Awards 2018. So Padma Awards can also be given to foreigners. For example, in 2018 Padma Awards, one of the recipients for Padma Bhushan was Alexander Kadakin. Alexander Kadakin was a long-term Russian ambassador to India. See, although right now we say that India has a special and privileged strategic partnership with Russia, after the disintegration of the Soviet Union, India-Russia relations were actually collapsing. This relationship, it was only further improved by the arrival of the 21st century and all, and Alexander Kadakin was one of the persons who played a key role in improving India-Russia relations. And it is said that he could even speak Hindi fluently. He was a friend of India, and he was given Padma Bhushan at 2018 Padma Awards. Padma Awards are announced during the Republic Day celebrations every year, and they are conferred by the President of India. Padma Awards will be conferred by the President at a ceremonial functions which will be held at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, usually around March or April. That's all about today's daily current affairs.